All right, so let's work through 42 through 49. What are the solutions? All right, so solutions again, x-intercepts, roots, and so forth, to the equation 2x squared minus 2x minus 12 equals 0. Now I see that my a value is greater than 1, so I'm going to use slip and slide, and I'm going to slide this 2 down to the end, and I'm going to multiply. So I get x squared minus 2x minus 24 equals 0. And now that a is 1, I can use the big X. So negative 24 goes on top, and negative 2. Now I got to come up with two numbers that multiply to negative 24 and add to get negative 2. So negative 6 and positive 4. So I'm going to have an x minus 6 and an x plus 4, but since I use slip and slide, I got to go back to this original a value of 2 and divide both of those by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3, and then 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then I'm going to set both of those equal to 0 and solve. And the reason I'm setting equal to 0 is because it asked for the solutions. It didn't ask for the factors. And then x plus 2 equals 0, minus 2. So positive 3 and negative 2, looks like C would be our option. All right, what are the solutions to the equation 6x squared minus x minus 40 equals 0? So let's go ahead and slide that 6 down, same situation. So x squared minus x minus, and let's see, 6 times 40 is 240 equals 0. Now I know you're like, how in the world am I supposed to come up with numbers for 240 and negative 1? All right, I'll practice. All right, so I know 240, I can divide that by 4, but I know 4 and 60 are never going to get me to 1. I can divide by 6. All right, I'm trying even numbers, so 240 is an even number, but 6 and 10 will never get me to 1. 8 is not a whole number. Oops, I'm doing this wrong. Hold on, 240 divided by 6. Well, 6 and 40, 240 divided by 8. 8 and 30, nope, 240 divided by 10. Oops. Oh my goodness. 240 divided by 10. 24 and 10 won't get me anywhere. 240 divided by 15 maybe. Oh, 15 and 16. Okay, so I can do a negative 16 and a positive 15 because I want them to add to negative 1. So negative 16 plus 15 gives me negative 1. So I have an x minus 16 and an x plus 15. But since I use slip and slide, I got to go back to that original a value. Okay, but it looks like both of these cannot be simplified. So I'm going to slide the 6 out front for both. So 6x minus 16 and 6x plus 15. And then again, I'm going to set them equal to 0. All right, so to solve this one, I need this by itself. So I'm going to add the 16 first. So 6x equals positive 16. Let me bring that up here. And then I'm going to divide by 6. So x equals 16 divided by 6, and then I'm going to make that a fraction so it's pretty. 8/3. Okay. And then, so the other one equals, so 6x plus 15 equals 0. And do the same thing. And then divide by 6. So negative 15 divided by 6, and again, I'm going to make that a fraction so it's pretty. Negative 5/2. So it looks like our option is D. What are the solutions to the equation x squared minus 5x equals 14? Now again, we're doing the same steps we did for 42 and 43, but for 44, excuse me, it's not equal to 0. So I'm actually going to have to move this 14 over by opposite operation. So I'm going to subtract the 14. So I have x squared minus 5x minus 14, and now that it's equal to 0, now I can use big X. So negative 14 and negative 5, negative 7 and positive 2. So x minus 7 and then x plus 2, and let's set them equal to 0. So x minus 7 equals 0, x plus 2 equals 0. These are one steps. So positive 7 and negative 2. So positive 7 and negative 2 would be C. All right, 45. An object is thrown in the air with an initial velocity of 5 meters per second from a height of 9 meters. The equation h of t equals negative 4.9 t squared plus 5t plus 9 models the height of the object in meters after t seconds. How many seconds does it take for the object to hit the ground? Okay, so let's look. So if I'm graphing this, it starts here. Actually, it started at 9 feet, and it reaches some point, and then it hits the ground. So it wants to know when y is 0, when it has no height. What is it? So let's set this. Remember, this is equal to y. So let's write this. And let's set y equal to 0. Now you're probably wondering how you're going to solve this with all these decimal places. Well, our foolproof method for solving these quadratics, if there's ugly decimals, is to use quadratic formula. All right, so remember quadratic formula. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So let's plug and chug into that. So negative, my b value is 5, plus or minus the square root of that 5 squared minus 4 times my a, which is negative 4.9, times my c, which is 9. All of that is divided by 2 times a, which again is negative 4.9. Okay, so let's plug all this into my calculator, and these blue calculators make it very easy, or yours are yellow, to plug it in. So let's create a fraction. Negative 5, and then plus or minus means you're doing one with a plus and one with a minus, so we're going to be doing 2. So plus the square root of 5 squared minus 4 times negative 4.9 times 9, all divided by 2 times negative 4.9. And it looks like one of my answers is negative 0.94. Okay, so let's write that one down. So negative 0.94. And then let's go and do the minus, and let's see what we get. We get 1.96. Now let's think about this, okay? It says, first off, measure round to the nearest tenth. Okay, well this would round my 9 up, and that would make this actually have to round up as well. And this would just keep it at 9. But can I have negative time? I cannot. So right here would be the one we're going to use, and that rounds to 2 seconds. All right, 46. What explicit expression can be used to find the next term in the sequence? So let's see, how can I get from 2 to 8? Well, to get from 2 to 8, I can add 6. To get from 8 to 18, I can add 10. I can forget 18 to 32. I can add, let's see, I think 14. Okay, and then to get the 32 to 50, I can add 18. But then you're like, well, this isn't all the same. Well, let's check again. Let's do the second difference to see if it's quadratic. Remember, the second difference, this is the first difference. The second difference is what determines if it's quadratic. So how do I get from 6 to 10? Well, I add 4. How do I get from 10 to 14? Well, I add 4. And how do I get from 14 to 18? Well, I add 4. Now, since the second difference is the same, we can determine that this is a quadratic, which means it has to have something squared. Okay, so that would cross out A and B. Well, now let's plug in these values and let's see. Well, remember, this is term 1, term 2, term 3, term 4. So let's plug in term 1, so 1 in for n. Well, 1 squared is 1 times 2 is 2, so we're good. Let's try 2. 2 squared is 4 times 2 is 8. Looks like we're good. Let's try one more just to verify. 3 squared is 9 times 2 is 18. So it looks like C would be my option. All right, 47. This function, all right, represents the height of an object S from the ground after time t when the object is thrown with an initial velocity of v at an initial height of h, where a is the acceleration due to gravity. So it's just telling you what all those variables mean. Okay, and acceleration due to gravity is 32 feet per second squared. A baseball player hits a baseball 4 feet above the ground with an initial velocity of 80 feet per second. How long will it take the baseball to hit the ground? So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in everything we know here. So it says a height, okay, so h is 4. We know that acceleration is 32 and an initial velocity of 80 feet per second. So let's plug in those values. So S of t equals 80 t plus 4, my h, minus 0.5 times my acceleration, t squared. And let's do a little bit of simplification. So negative 0.5, let's use this one. Negative 0.5 times 32 is negative 16. And then let's write it in standard form. So negative 16 squared plus 80t plus 4. Okay? And then before we solve this, actually, what's the question? How long will it take the baseball to hit the ground? So it wants to know how long from here to here. Okay? How long from there to there? So one method would be let's go ahead, let's try and find the vertex, because the vertex is the middle point, and we can take that middle distance and multiply it by 2. Well, how do you find the vertex of something in standard form? Well, the x value is negative b over 2a. So negative 80 over 2 times negative 16. So let's plug that in. Negative 80 over 2 times negative 16. And that gives us 5/2, which is 2.5. But remember, that's just this, that's the x value of this. So this is 2.5, which is half, and then the other half is another 2.5. So 2.5 plus 2.5 would give me 5 seconds. So D would be your option. All right, 48. A cafe's annual income depends on X, the number of customers. This function describes the cafe's total annual income, and this function describes the total amount the cafe spends. All right, the profit is the difference between the two. So difference is subtraction. So we're going to do 4x squared minus 20x. And we're going to subtract 2x squared plus 5, okay? So let's distribute that negative to both of these. So that would be negative 2x squared and a negative 5, and then let's combine like terms. Like term, like term. 4 minus 2 is 2x squared, and nothing else is combined, and that looks like my option A. All right, 49. Which statement best describes the graph of f of x plus 6? This is a transformation, remember, inside the house, so it's a horizontal shift, and it's the opposite since it's in the house. So it says plus 6, but we're actually going to move left 6. So that would be option B.